1911. Construction begins on a new campus for Hebrew Union College. 1912. Classes begin.
We've created a world center of Jewish scholarship. The Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati has evolved from a very small rabbinical seminary into what is now one of the largest and most comprehensive Judaic and Hebraic studies centers in the entire world.
Within a century, we have become the preeminent space for research and the preservation of books and archival materials, not only in North America, but throughout the world outside the State of Israel.
For over 100 years, the greatest scholars of Judaic studies in the entire world have lived here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and been associated with the Hebrew Union College.
HUC had a building downtown on 6th Street, which, when Kaufman Kohler was president, was simply inadequate. And it was decided to move up into the hills to Clifton, which was very little settled at that time. What today is the American Jewish Archives was the first library of the school. Downtown, there had been very little room for books and very few books in the library. Here it was possible to create what became one of the great assets of the Hebrew Union College, namely one of the very finest Jewish libraries in the world. It made Cincinnati a center of Jewish learning.
The decision to have moved here to this campus 100 years ago under the presidency of Kaufman Kohler was a revolutionary move for the College Institute. It really did indicate that HUC had gone beyond its earliest beginnings under Rabbi Wise, and it was prepared to be a much more permanent part of the Cincinnati landscape. A campus here on Clifton was actually a wonderful sign of the position that Hebrew Union College had begun to earn within all of American and world Jewry.
In the early days, the students came from very poor families, in some cases from orphanages, back in the days of Isaac Mayer Wise in the last decades of the 19th century, so that the college had to supply them even with clothing, which they could not otherwise afford. The student body then became more various.
As the student body diversified, it did so in an atmosphere of absolute academic freedom. Professors were not required to be members of the Reform movement or to have certain political views, only that they be outstanding scholars. Students and faculty alike took strong stands on issues of social justice.
In this century, we have become the institution that went out and rescued scholars from the Second World War and the Holocaust and brought them over to Cincinnati and enriched the entire community through their engagement with the community and through their scholarship and teaching.
But when we speak of a Jewish state, we do not have in mind any racial state or any theocratic state, but one which will be based upon full equality and rights for all inhabitants without distinction of religion or race.
Throughout the past century, we have established a graduate school soon after the war that became one of the central institutions for the teaching and the training of non-Jewish scholars in Judaism.
Our graduate studies program in Cincinnati was founded in the late 40s by Dr. Nelson Glick. It was founded as an interfaith academy of highest learning. And I know that our graduate students, many of whom come from seminaries when they start here, they don't leave being the same people. and they move on to institutions where they will themselves train students, and they come with what we here at HUC, the faculty, the strong faculty, and a very academic, a rigorous academic program have instilled in them. The School of Graduate Studies, I can honestly say, is a shining jewel in the crown of HUC.
In the 50s, Cincinnati still was largely a segregated city. A number of our students went to restaurants, particularly one in Clifton, together with a black graduate student, and helped to integrate that particular restaurant.
Throughout the past century, we started ordaining women rabbis and generated a revolution in the participation of women in the clergy and in Jewish communal life.
Meanwhile, the renown of the campus's peerless academic programs and resources continued to grow.
The resources on this campus, which always have been world-renowned, the American Jewish Archives and the Cloud Library, they have grown and developed and expanded beyond their founders' wildest imaginations.
The American Jewish Archives was the baby of Jacob Rader Marcus. Marcus was one of the first to realize that the Holocaust had changed not only the demographics of world Jewry, but that America now was destined to play a much larger role in Jewish history than it had in the past, and that therefore there was a real need to establish a documentary basis for the history of American Judaism. Initially simply for the Reform movement, but he quickly expanded it to include anything relating to American Jewry.
This institution also started a clinical and pastoral education program and became a pioneer among Jewish seminaries in this area.
Hebrew Union College was the first Jewish seminary to bring clinical pastoral education within its walls, to offer it as a required course here on Cincinnati campus, that every student who comes from this campus is going to walk out with at least 400 hours of supervised skill building. It has changed, I believe, certainly my rabbinate, and by extension, I think the rabbinate of every student that I've had the privilege to work with.
One of the things we really like about this partnership with Hebrew Union College on our clinical pastoral education program is that not only are we benefiting and our children and patients here in Cincinnati benefiting, but it's really helping train clergy and faculty to deliver this service of pastoral care, of excellent chaplaincy to institutions not only across our city but around the country.
Hebrew Union College began as a center for the education of rabbinic leadership alone. Rabbi Wise, when he created the Hebrew Union College, believed that American Judaism could not prosper, could not succeed without appropriate rabbinic leadership. And that vision continues to guide HUC all the way to the present day.
I think about how far along we have come in 100 years here on Clifton Avenue, and what it is that we have succeeded in achieving in 1 century. What we have achieved over the past century is truly extraordinary. And now, with new and budding collaborations and relationships with Xavier University, with the University of Cincinnati, with other institutions, we are poised to yet grow again and to innovate again and to break new paths into a new century and into a new future for Jewish life.
Hebrew Union College is a tremendous asset to this community and really a very powerful force, you know, in our city. And I think the close collaboration of the two universities is a real plus, and from a cultural aspect, I think a very, very positive thing that's happening right here in our city.
The 21st century, its greatest challenge to the Jewish people in North America is, can Judaism succeed and thrive In a completely open society where Jews are fully accepted and participate in every single arena of cultural, political, religious, and civic life. The rabbis whom we now educate will have to be, in quotes, bilingual. They will have to speak the language of Jewish tradition, but also the language of the culture of which we are a part.
Our institution is and will continue to be central to the survival and growth of a critical, open-minded Jewish heritage and Jewish contribution to this country. This is our task, to work with our partners to realize that promise.